My name is Gary Chaffee, and I'm 77 years old. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I have normal pressure hydrocephalus. Yeah, my journey for hydrocephalus has been actually in two phases. The first phase started in 1981 when an ophthalmologist picked up that I had some field defect on one of the tests that was suspicious for some type of brain disorder. So I was referred to Barnes Hospital in St. Louis, and they did testing, which was a CT scan with contrast media. And that's when they first found out that I had enlarged ventricles. After that, I spent about 3 days in the hospital so they could rule out a lot of the other things that could cause hydrocephalus. At the end of that stay, they decided that the diagnosis was a communicating hydrocephalus that did not require surgery at that time. The second phase happens quite a bit later, and that was in about 2002. That's when I started to experience symptoms that would be typical symptoms of normal pressure hydrocephalus, and that being gait, imbalance in walking, urinary frequency and urgency, and then some mild cognitive issues. In 2004, then it became more problematic because in the terms of cognition, I was actually getting lost, in very familiar places, being lost, having to pull the car off the side of the road, catch my breath, and figure out how to get home. Very scary, because I thought maybe it was Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia going on at that time. And so a very difficult way to live when you have to, you're having trouble walking, but you got to run to the bathroom. Well, that's not a good sign. But the thing that got me the most was the cognitive issues. And when I talk about cognitive issues, things like not being able to sit in a group and understand what was going on. My memory was so short at that period of time that by the time somebody would finish talking, I couldn't remember what they had started with. Reading a book. I used to like to read. As a matter of fact, I was in the hospital one time for a lumbar puncture, and I thought that's cool, I can catch up on my reading. Couldn't read hardly a word because it was just too difficult, and not seeing, not understanding the words, but if there was more than 2 characters, I would not remember them. I met up with my new neurosurgeon, and it was such a relief because all of a sudden, after all these years of not really knowing what was going on, my neurosurgeon told me he was sure it was normal pressure hydrocephalus. He also gave me some hope that actually there was something that could be done about the normal pressure hydrocephalus. And it was very emotional because for so many years of having doctors tell me it was just like all in your head. Well, it turned out it was all in my head, but it was spinal fluid that was in my head. In January of 2005, I had my first shunt surgery. My neurosurgeon explained what they were going to do, explained he was going to use a programmable valve. He didn't really offer a non-programmable valve as an option, but the rationale that he gave me also just made a lot of sense. He said, we're going to do this, we'll use a programmable valve. The advantage of using a programmable valve is that over time, you probably are going to need to have the shunt adjusted from time to time. And this we can do simply in the office with a programmable valve. But the big part of it was that I was very fortunate. It was almost an immediate impact. For me, one of the other symptoms that I developed when I have shunt problems or before I had my shunt was my speech. And so before surgery, I had a very difficult time talking and having anybody able to understand what I was talking about. Almost immediately after waking up from surgery, the residents came in and they couldn't believe that I was talking so clearly. I mean, it was really just that amazing. When I woke up from surgery and after the anesthesia and grogginess went away, it was like somebody had turned a light on because for such a long time I felt like everything had been grayed out, everything was moving slow, and now all of a sudden after the surgery, it was like, it's hard to explain, but I've heard from other people as well. It's like somebody turned on a light switch, things cleared up,